How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about how to get video content from your PC and record it onto a VHS tape. There's a couple ways to do this. So we're going to go through a couple and I'll tell you the pros and cons of each. The first way I want to talk about is with one of these little boxes here. This is a mini HDMI to AV converter box. And these are super cheap. You can find these all over the place, Amazon, eBay. They usually sell for like $5-10. And how they work is you would put HDMI in from whatever you're using, and you would use component cables out into your VCR. Now, the good part about this is you're not really limited to just a computer. Anything with an HDMI output you could use with this box and record onto a VHS tape. If you wanted to use a gaming console or a streaming box or anything like that, you'd be able to pull that off with this box. The bad part is the quality from this thing is not great. You're not going to get the best quality on your VHS tape. Now, they're usable. I'm not going to say that the tape is going to be unwatchable. It's not going to be bad, but it's not going to be as good as it could be. But if this is just something that you want to play around with here and there, and you want to get started cheap and really easy, this isn't a super bad way to go. Now, you do have to be careful when you order these, because this same company sells this box reversed, where it would be AV to HDMI, which is what you would use if you wanted to do like hook your VCR to a TV that only has an HDMI output, or if you wanted to do like your Super Nintendo or something like that on your HD TV that doesn't have a composite option. They sell those boxes as well. They look the exact same. You can get them in white or black. So if you want to use this, you just have to be careful and make sure you are getting HDMI to AV and not the other way around. The next way we're going to talk about is going to give you a really good quality. I personally don't use the converter box. Now they do make some higher end converter boxes that's a lot more expensive than this. Um, I haven't invested in any. I'm sure they probably have better quality than this does, but we're talking, you know, upwards to $200-300 for one of these converter boxes, like the high end ones. And there's better, cheaper ways to do it. So I've never tried any out. So I've only used the cheap $10 converter box, and you get what you pay for. Now, another way you could do this, which is probably the way that takes the most equipment, is to use DVDs. Now, you could use either a combo unit where it's your VHS, VCR, and the DVD in the same machine, where you could just put a DVD in and hit record on the VCR and it'll do it for you. Or, you could have a standalone DVD player and composite out into your VCR and do it that way. The good thing about that is it's not going to tie your computer up like some other methods would. The only thing you need your computer for was to burn the DVD. You would get your video file situated however and burn it onto a disk. Now, another bad part is that your computer would have to have a DVD burner. And a lot of modern systems do not include optical drives anymore. In fact, my gaming PC doesn't have a spot to even install an optical drive in it. So if I wanted to do DVDs, I would have to buy an external DVD burner, which is another thing that you kind of have to keep in mind. Now, another positive side of this is the DVD, you could just keep it. So if you wanted to make more than one copy, or if you want to make another copy, months or weeks or whatever down the road, you just pull the old DVD out and you could just dub the tape. You don't have to worry about reburning a DVD. So you just have to burn a master DVD for each project you want it to do, which is a really good way to do it, and it's going to give you much better quality than the cheap converter box if you have the equipment to do it. And then of course you're going to have to keep blank DVD disc on hand and wait for them to burn and all that kind of stuff. Now, the third way to do it, which is a really good way, is if you have an Xbox 360 system and you know a little bit about networking, because the Xbox 360 is one of the last gaming systems that actually supported composite video out. So you can buy composite and S-video cables for your Xbox 360. And how you would do is you would go into Xbox Media Center and you set it up through your home network and network it to your PC unit. So basically what you're doing is on the 360, you would be streaming whatever video file you created or whatever from your PC wirelessly, and then your Xbox will be hooked to the VCR, and then you could record it that way. And the really good way about that is you don't need any DVDs or anything. You don't have to burn anything. You'll be able to do that wirelessly through your home network. The bad part is it's kind of a pain in the ass to set up, and so you kind of have to know what you're doing to get it going right. Windows is really finicky with home network stuff. A lot of times it's a battle to get it to communicate and work the way that it's supposed to. And in other times it'll just connect right up like there's no problem at all. So it's definitely a really good way to dub tapes if you have an Xbox 360 system. And the last way I'm going to talk about is the way that I personally do it on when I make tapes, and that is I use old technology to make old technology, and that's in the 90s and early 2000s. Graphics card manufacturers actually put TV outs on their graphics cards. So if you buy older graphics cards, as you see here, it has an S video output on this card native to the actual graphics card itself. So you would just run this into a computer. Now the bad part is, this would tie up your computer system, just like the converter box. And you really wouldn't be able to touch anything because anything you do on the screen would record on the tape. Now, if you did the converter box, if you had a graphics card that has multiple ports, you could install this actually as a second desktop, as a second monitor. So you would just drag what you wanted to record to that side, and it's not quite as bad. Where with these, it would be, your whole screen. Now, my personal rig, which I can't show you guys because, as you can see by the empty room, I'm in the process of moving into a new house and everything's still boxed up. But I have a standalone PC that I use to make tapes, and I have 5 of these cards, daisy chain, that allows me to make 5 copies of whatever tape I'm working on at the same time. Because what you really never want to daisy chain VCR units to record, where you would go, output from one VCR into the input of the next, and you know, so far down the line. Because every time you do that, it's going to cut the quality of your recording in half. And by the time you get to VCR number 3 or 4, your tape's going to be unwatchable. doing it this way with the video cards, like I use on my setup, allows me to have a dedicated video signal to each VCR unit. So what I do is I have the standalone PC, and I have 5 Panasonic OmniVision VCR units that's hooked up through S-Video, which gives you a kind of a little better signal than just regular composite would, directly to the computer unit that I use. Now, the good thing about using these cards is there is no conversion anywhere whatsoever. Um, with all the other methods, there's some type of conversion. Either you're editing or you're working in an HD setting and then having to convert it to a standard definition to put on your tape. With these, I run my PC in native resolution to the VHS. So all the video editing I do, the transfer, the recording, everything is in native resolution. There's no conversion anywhere, which to me personally, in my opinion, gives the best quality that you're going to get on a VHS tape doing this kind of transfer. I mean, it's actually uh, kind of surprising what kind of quality you can get out of a VHS tape if you're using, good tape stock and, a very good signal from your video card. Now, if you want to go this method, um, you could pretty much buy any graphics card from that era. The TV output is something that they all did. The only thing that you have to kind of look at is the actual edge connector. So this one in particular is a VGA connection is what they call it. And, this would be a good card if you only wanted to use, um, I'm sorry, AGP. It's an AGP connector. VGA is the monitor plug. It's an AGP card. This would be really good if you only wanted to do one card, because motherboards did not have multiple AGP ports. It was a brown port on your motherboard. So if you had an older motherboard, you could use a card like this. Now, AGP ports have gone away. They don't use that anymore. So you wouldn't be able to install these cards into a modern system. You would have to have an older motherboard to run something like this. Early Pentium 4, maybe, Pentium 2, Pentium 3 for the most part. Now, they do sell these in PCI, which is what I use in my rig. It's an NVIDIA card. I'm not sure the exact model. I'd have to look at it. But they are PCI cards, which is nice because I'm able to install 5 of them on the motherboard that I have, because I have 5 PCI ports and I can run them all at one time. Now, you could even find some of these in PCIe, which is like the later batch that they did. And, those are really nice, of course. But if you do a little looking, you could even find some of these cards that have drivers compatible with Windows 10 and 11, especially the NVIDIA cards. If you could find the NVIDIA PCIe cards that have the TV output, it'll run in GeForce Experience through your NVIDIA driver, because they do a bulk driver that supports all of their cards for the most part. So what you could do is actually install one of these cards as a slave to your actual video card. I've done that in the past where I've had a system where I was running, say like a 2070 or a 2080, but also had, a much older GeForce card that I would use just for the TV out. And I was able to run both cards at the same time and not crash my system and not have a hard time setting it up. But yeah, this is definitely the best way that I find to do your videos. Um, the other ways are fine as well; they'll work, but this will definitely give you the best quality, especially if you're wanting to build a duplication rig like I have, where you're doing multiple copies at one time, um, and you want to set up multiple VCRs. You do not want to daisy chain those. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the comments. I'll take a look at everything and get back to you. Feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna be doing a bunch of different stuff, here and there. So anyway, I'll catch you guys down the road.